Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kenny Lamons here with Medicare Millennials. Before we jump into today's interview, which is honestly, it's been a while since I've had this, what I believe to be this much of a valuable guest on. So I'm excited to go over, just have a talk with this guy today. But before we do that, I haven't put out a lot of videos this year. So I've been dealing with some health issues, and I always take a break during AEP because I just really want to focus on refining my book of business and reloading for the new year. And this year, I've expanded probably the biggest leap that I've made forward as far as selling other lines of insurance. And I've talked a little bit about the annuity stuff, but I have some exciting videos that I'll be putting out a little later this year to tell you guys how that's been going so you can see if that's a good fit for the next step in your Medicare business. As far as today goes, Andrew with Renegade Medicare Millionaire. Did I say that right? Renegade Medicare Millionaire. I love what he does. I'm a big T65 guy, and it took me way too long to figure out that T65 was one of the best ways to be in the Medicare business. Not only did it take me a long time to figure that out, but it was hard for me to break into that space and find out how to compete on from a marketing aspect to get T65 leads. I've learned quite a bit and I've had good success doing it, but this guy's on a whole nother level. I would consider him an authority in T65 marketing for Medicare, but more importantly, a little bit of a maverick because while all the call centers and all the mail houses do the same old thing and just step on each other's toes and compete, Andrew does it differently. So before we jump into the interview, all about T65s in the Medicare business, Andrew, just give us the kind of like the sky high view of who you are, what you do in this business, and how you're different from a lot of other agents.
Yeah, no problem, Kenny. I'm glad to connect with you again. So I actually started back in 2015 now, as a captive agent with UHC, and then very quickly realized I was a bit handcuffed with how I could help people in the community just representing one carrier product. And they weren't that strong up in the Buffalo, New York area where I live. So I went broker, and then really right away I kind of figured out I was newly married. I had my first kid on the way, and my wife and I were kind of going through the typical who's going to be working and are we going to do the daycare thing, and we have a very traditional household. So our plan was to have my wife stay home. I would kind of be the main moneymaker. And when I was looking at how MAPD commissions specifically get paid and kind of prorated, it was kind of like, I don't know that I want to go work, an hour sale in August to make $68. So I very, very quickly realized if I'm going to take any time away from the family, I better be making the most amount of money I can. Otherwise, why bother get out of bed and put my pants on? So for basically from 2017 till now, have done nothing but T65 sales. I have a lot of things in place to attract that and specifically repel people who are not turning 65. Um, so yeah, I mean, over the last, whatever that is, 7, 8 years, it took me kind of the first 2 years to really figure out what everybody else was doing in the T65 marketing and kind of looking at their results and their return, and that it really was kind of poor. And then testing a lot of new stuff in those 2 years. So really like 2020 or so is when I kind of hit the groove. And in the last 5 years, I've built my book to above 1,700 policies now.
Nice.
It's just me. I have no staff, no one here, no LOAs, no VAs. It's all me. I have a little 700 square foot office, but it's all me. I sell one-on-one in person. I don't do anything over the phone. So a lot of the strategies I use when I share them in some of these trainings I do kind of open people's eyes. I've actually had, and I haven't really been able to talk about it previously, but this year, 2025, I kind of have a little more freedom with what I can share because I've had some NDAs in place because I've kind of been like the secret weapon behind the scenes, training a lot of agents and agencies on T65 Selling, names you would know probably, Golden Outlook and people through Integrity and Ritter and senior market advisors and stuff. So um, now I've been able to take what I do personally in my community. I've been sharing it and doing trainings in groups of agents, but now I'm offering a lot of this through my own content. So we're going to be taking a lot of my trainings and creating podcasts and YouTube videos, but that's coming up in the future. But I'm excited to kind of pay this forward and help a lot more agents. Um,
Well,
kind of be able to,
just in case people that don't make it to the end of the video, if they want to learn more about your system or
yeah.
any of your coaching opportunities, we'll talk about this again, but where can they find you?
The easiest place to go is T65sellingsecrets.com.
Okay.
I have a free email newsletter I've been doing. Just you can hop right on there. It's all free content, usually multiple times a week. I have like 2 years of stuff that we're going to be revamping into podcast/YouTube. Um, so you can go right there, just drop your email in. There's nothing else I need. You'll get on the list. This year we actually created like a mini training course and a bunch of other free resources. It's like $2,100 of free resources. So anyone who's on the newsletter, I basically just send them a link to get access to that. And that's all free. It's all separate from my actual like agent coaching community, which we can talk about later if you want to.
No, that's perfect. So T65 sellings.com.
Sellingsecrets.com.
All right, perfect. All right, well let's where should we start? So I here's what I think. The last 24 months or so have probably been some of the most drastic changes in the Medicare space since I've been involved with it.
Mhm.
Now, most people that watch this channel kind of know my story. I started captive and mostly sold life insurance, but only a little bit of Medicare for a long time. And so I wasn't building renewals and all the good stuff. And
Mhm.
eventually, a few years ago, I finally found Medicare. When I found Medicare, I had like pretty good success early on, but it was more in the plan transfer, like flipping people world.
Sure.
And so my retention wasn't great. So I kind of took the long way around. It's only been the last probably 3 years that I've really had like good quality building of Medicare book, right? I've sold thousands of insurance policies to seniors, but only the last few years have I been doing things in a way that I think I'd recommend to anybody, right? And
Sure.
so it sounds like your story is similar. Took you a little bit to narrow down on that.
Yep.
Before we get to that, so like what's working? What are you doing different? What do you think about this last 24 months of changes in the Medicare space? So namely, the all the new call recording stuff they've put on independent agents. That people know my opinion on this. It's way more overbearing on an independent agent than it is some call center. It does
Correct.
nothing to the call center, really. What are your thoughts on like some of the new compliance stuff that has come into our market? Does it hurt or help us? Can it be an advantage or is it a detractor? And then with the most recent changes with that are stalled up in court with commissions and FMO overrides and just are you worried about the future of Medicare? How have you handled some of these changes? Just quick, don't have to go into the weeds on it. Just tell me what you think about some of that.
Yes, I agree with your thoughts on that. So call recordings, 48-hour scope, all those other compliance things. I think the challenge we have is the independent agent is getting kind of the fallout from the bad apples at the call centers or larger agencies that might be doing like telesales or non-face-to-face selling. Um, I have kind of always thought and followed the if you keep it small, you keep it all mentality, where I never really wanted to grow a big agency because I felt like my strength was the in-person actual selling. Like I enjoy selling. Um, you know, so my thought around that was if I'm going to have the limitation of not building a large downline of LOA agents and kind of getting a little profit off everybody, then I got to figure out how to be profitable on my own. And that then made me look into, am I going to be able to afford being compliant in any way other than selling in person? And I just, for my own personal reasons, thought, no, I don't want to pay for, recording software and extra servers to save all the audio files and all the other stuff. I'm also not a big fan of, and we're going on a tangent here, but I'm also not a big fan of the agents that allow the carriers to um, hold their audio files. I mean, I think every agent should be independently keeping their own records. This way, if there's ever any sort of future compliance issue or you're going separate ways or you lose your contract with the carrier because we're all at will, right? We can be termed for whatever they feel like. That might shoot you in the foot later. So I just didn't want to play in that world. So I can be the trusted advisor in my local community and build my brand as like if you're turning 65, this is the guy you go see. And like you were saying with the plan changes, I think most of us start with the carrier trainings and agent kickoff events, and the low-hanging fruit prior to AEP is try to get in front of people already on Medicare and show them how you can save them some money and then present some alternative plan options and kind of change their plan. And that's good because you get your feet wet in plan presentation and looking up doctors and drugs and just comfortable with Medicare insurance as a product. But I think a lot of agents remain average income earners, average producers, because they're all swimming in the same cesspool of everyone is kind of doing the same stuff in the same way. So, if you want to, kind of be the exception, you kind of got to start doing different stuff. And that's kind of like when I learned, T65 is I think it's a better market for either agents that have been around a while and have built a book of business that, I hate to say it this way, but they no longer like because their clients are either less loyal, so they have retention issues because you attracted that client by flipping their plan, right? So now if another agent comes around and says, "Oh, I can show you better savings than what he just showed you," well, now they're loyal to them and they're going to flip again. So that whole client connection is based on I need to
Benefits.
yeah, I need to keep shopping every year to try to save pinch pennies and like get the next new best thing.
Mhm.
Where with T65 coming in, they don't know anything about Medicare other than it's confusing. So now you can train that client how you want them to work with you for the rest of their life.
Mhm.
Their only choice is, am I retiring at 65 or still working? If I'm retiring, do I still have employer coverage as a retiree or not? If no, I have to go on Medicare. So now you're just helping them pick their first plan and you can change the conversation. So instead of meeting the 73-year-old, the 81-year-old, the 94-year-old, where you're now saying, I know you've been on the same plan for 10 years, but you've been missing out on these benefits. Let me show you something different where they're basically scheduling an appointment out of curiosity and then you need to convince them to change, right? And a lot of times they're very stubborn, even though you could save them $2,000 on their scripts. I've been on this plan for 20 years and I've never done anything different. But with the T65 market, you're able to basically just show them here are a few options that are going to be best for what your situation is. Anything you do is going to be different than your employer plan. So the only change is just it's Medicare. That's the change. It's not which Medicare plan. And then you can also teach them right on day one, I'm not a fan of shopping plans every year. There's no reason to do it. Right. So and then you can kind of use what they call a bridge statement. So it's kind of like when you buy a car. you do a ton of work up front, and you do research on, do I need a pickup truck, sports car, minivan, SUV, whatever. Shop around, compare your models, but you don't go look at new pickup trucks every year. There has to be a reason. So you wait 3 years till your lease is up. Fine. You turn it in and you get a new one. Or the other option, which would be a pickup truck is no longer serving your needs. Now you need a minivan because you got 5 kids. So even though you like the truck, it's not meeting your needs anymore. You got to turn it in. So, you may like UHC, but their plan may be terrible all of a sudden, and you need to turn it in because it's not a cost benefit anymore. Um, so yeah, I mean, I like the T65 market because you can train them right on day one. And
Yeah.
and that's how I've been able to scale, right? I've changed the conversation where every year, I mean, and I write 30 T65 a month. So I mean, so I do about 360 new plans every year. And there'd be no way I'd be able to scale past probably 5 or 600 by myself if every year people were expecting me to do a one-on-one plan review.
Yep.
So
No.
we have kicked the can down the road. I only have to do like anyone I write in 2025, I'm likely not reviewing their plan in person till 2028 or 2029, unless they have a medical issue, they get new scripts, they get cancer. There has to be a real reason. But most people, that's not the case, especially being 65 because they're also healthier. They have less doctors, less drugs, so it's also less work.
Yeah, well, and it's also they tend to be loyal because you were the first person that set them up, and as
Yep.
long as you spend the time to build a relationship with them, then they don't want to leave. When
Right.
you're working leads of people who are shopping, either their agent ditched them a long time ago or they never had an agent and they're just used to switching with whoever
Right.
offers them. Like you're literally inviting that into your life. But aside from that, that is like one of the greatest benefits to focusing on T65s. You just articulated it perfectly for everyone watching. But another big truth is that, especially in Medicare Advantage, it's a better cash flow. The
Sure.
renewals are the same, but they're longer because you're hypothetically you could have that client 30, 40 years, hypothetically. You're not selling somebody that's knocking on death's doorstep most of the
Right.
time.
You got it.
But also you get paid that initial commission, which so for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's that national average commission on Medicare Advantage for a swap. So from one Medicare Advantage to another is like whatever, $311 or whatever it
Yep.
is, 315. It's double that if somebody's turning 65 and it's their very first time on a Medicare Advantage plan. Well, so
Double the money.
hypothetically, you can make double the money for half of the work. And if you take in proration into account, it's even a better ratio than that. But
Yeah.
you get a better commission. So that's nice because we know that we got to spend money and time on marketing when we're new. And so it
Mhm.
helps offset that. My specific question to you, though, is what are your thoughts on that proposal by, I'm sure it's long gone now. We have a new administration, court it has postponed it. But what were your thoughts on the whole, hey, we're getting rid of all the kickback and overhead extra money that FMOs and carriers are giving to agents? Never
Yep.
comes to agents. It always went to mid-level
Exactly.
FMOs anyway. But some agents got it, but all these extra dollars that are swaying people, let's get rid of all that. Throw on an extra $100 a commission or whatever it was. I think it was $100 and move down the road. What were your thoughts on that? Do you think that overall would have been good for independent agents like us? Or are you glad
I
that that's
think,
probably never going to go?
um, yeah, I'll touch on 2 points. So, like you said, any of the, paper trails of these overrides really don't make a whole lot down to the actual boots on the ground independent agent who's out in the field. Like right? I'm by myself. I mean, I have an agency set up for tax purposes, but I don't get an override on my own production. So it wouldn't really affect me. I don't know that it would affect many other independent agents who maybe have not received an override or much of an override anyways. Um, I think the biggest thing that I see when I walk agents through some of our like business planning exercises is a lot of agents don't even really have like really good goal setting thoughts, or any sort of training on how to think like they run a small business.
Mhm.
Like, yes, you are a salesperson, that's how you make money, but all of us are running our own small business. And if we're basically salespeople stuck in a marketing job with no training on how to market. So everybody is at kind of a disadvantage because the carriers will teach you how to position their product and they give you templated, approved marketing pieces. But like, if four agents in your town all want to send a T65 mailer out and they're all sending the same thing. So like nothing stands out. So my point with this is like if an agent wants to make 5 grand a month, right? And they look at selling MAPDs just because it's easier math, and they need to make 5,000 in January at a $300 plan change is whatever that number of policy is. I can't do mental math, but let's just say it's, well, let me see. What do we say? 5,000 divided by 300. So they got to do 16 policies basically, right, to make that in January. But then with the proration in February, now they got to do 19. And then in March, now they got to do 21. And then in April, they got to do 24. So you have to do more work while you're paid less when you don't sell T65. So like it just seems kind of silly to me. Um, where like in October, and if you want to still make the same $5,000, you got to sell five new to Medicare, five T65 plans instead of 35 plan changes. So, I mean, it's like a fraction of the work. Now, to your point regarding marketing dollars, if you focus more on T65, even if you're happy just making 300 a policy, but you actually get paid 600, you now have $300 of extra cash flow that creates your own marketing budget, irrelevant if you get an override or not.
And no proration.
Right. And no proration. Exactly. So, like, if you sell five, let's make it easy, five T65 a month, you're getting paid $3,000, and you could easily take 500 to 1,000 and create your own marketing budget and still be 2 to 10 times ahead on the $2,000 net profit than if you were doing prorated plan changes.
The only way plan transfers work is high volume.
Yeah. And that's why that's like the call center model. It's just
Yeah.
like get as many in as we can every year. If we get a bunch of rapid disenrollments or people change plans again next year, we don't care because we have another new high volume of sales coming in. It's not a game that an independent agent can play and win at when time is money.
I wish I would have known that early on too.
Yeah.
Well, and it could also work in this scenario. If you're slow and steady, like I'm just thinking of an example, like you're a stay-at-home spouse, like you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, and you're
Mhm.
like, hey, I got 3 or 4 years to slowly build this up in my free time. I'll go to this health clinic and I'll go to the senior center. And that's like, and you just want to slowly build up and not pay any marketing, and just slowly replace plans as you meet people. Okay, that can make sense for you.
I'll challenge you on that. And the only
Well,
reason I
most
say that,
people
'cause
don't do
so
that very well either. Yeah.
I have probably a dozen in my agent coaching community of stay-at-home moms. And they found out about my trainings through other agents who are doing Medicare full time. And they were like, if you want to do this part time, check this guy out because he'll teach you how to sell T65 and you won't even have to leave the house, even though you have the free time because you're doing it part time, to do event. Like, still to this day, I have never spent $1 on marketing. I have never run an ad. I've never sent a Facebook ad. I don't even know how to do any of that. Everything I have done is purely by referral. Um, and by like a local letter campaign. And I started small with no book of business and just whatever. So if you are part-time or a stay-at-home parent, I would argue that starting to focus on T65 on day one, even if you make less sales in your first year, you
Is
still will make more money
yep.
than if you did more sales on plan changes.
That no that I
And and when you ask for referrals, anyone who you're referred T65 is in the same position again. They have to move to Medicare versus because this is another problem people I see a lot of agents. They at least are smart enough to ask for referrals. But if you help Mrs. Johnson save money moving from UHC to Aetna, and you do everything you can to ask her for a referral, and you walk with her into the senior center for bingo, and you stand there and watch her say to the room of 20 people, you all have to go work with my agent. He helped me save money going from UHC to Aetna. 18 to 19 of those people may already not like Aetna, already had Aetna, and it wasn't a good fit anymore, or they're happy with their current plan. So even though you're asking for referrals, you may not actually get them because the service you're selling, I'll review your plan and change, is not really what people want.
No, you're right. And if you are going to do it part time, I do agree you should go ahead and just start doing it T65. I guess I was just saying that you're not going to get 100 plan transfers a month without buying
Oh,
leads.
right, 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 right,
It would be a
right.
slow. But so I don't know what I messed up this time, but this meeting is going to automatically end in 4 minutes. So apparently I did something wrong with my. I thought
Timing?
I paid for Zoom Pro, but apparently something's wrong there. So I want you to jump straight into what like you've really done a good job really this whole time highlighting like your business model overall, but how do you set yourself apart, and then how do you help other agents do that?
Yeah, two things. I'll be quick, and we can do a whole nother like actual like
Well,
tactical training if you want.
we
Um,
absolutely should. This is a
yeah,
great introduction video, but really this topic is like a series. We should do like three or
yeah,
four
yeah,
episodes
absolutely. I'm
covering.
happy. I got a year's worth of content.
All right.
Um, so yeah, your questions were something. I don't even remember now.
Yeah, so my question is like what like I feel like this whole video has been a good job of just selling people on the idea that hey, if you're going to get into this business, here's why
Oh,
T65 just makes more sense.
attracting leads and how I help agents.
How do you help agents
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and how do you differentiate from in that
So
market?
yeah, two things. Um, so attracting T65 leads. I think that the T65 population these days, and probably for the next 5 to 7 years, is actually faced with a very different problem, a new problem that a lot of agents are not addressing. And we kind of touched on it. But when they're aging into Medicare, 5 to 6 to 8 months prior to their 65th birthday, they are not thinking, gee, which plan should I pick? Even though that is all the ads that are going out there. It's turning 65, I can help you get your coverage. Turning 65, let me give you a free quote. It's all about selling insurance. It's not what they're asking. The problem that they're faced with is, do I need to sign up for Medicare at 65? So agents need to get on board with changing their marketing message to answer that question first, which will lead into showing them plans and selling. So if they're interested in how to do that, yes, I do help agents. Like I said, T65sellingsecrets.com. You can join my free newsletter. I also have a paid agent um, coaching community where we actually give you pre-done marketing campaigns. You basically have access to my $500,000 book of business and everything I'm using just as your own. One of the biggest things is I wrote a book. It became a bestseller. That is my business card. We give agents a whitelisted label of my book as their own with the whole system to use the book, attract leads. So I mean, it's a very profitable thing. Agents can check that out. If you're on my newsletter, I just remind people I only open up new agent applications for that one time a year because it takes a year to get everyone set up. I'm very hands-on. So Just join the newsletter, T65sellingsecrets.com, and then all the information is kind of through that.
So I want to learn more about the book and the marketing side of things. So on our next video, we'll do it. Go ahead and guarantee a second video on this. We'll talk about how you started out marketing and how you ended up with like this
Yep,
book and this advanced process that has really made you succeed.
you got it.
This is a good enough video for today. I know my audience, if they're anything like me, we got a certain short time span, like attention span at any one time. Thank you for coming on. We'll put
Yeah,
another
happy.
video out within the next 1 to 2 weeks. How's that sound?
Yeah, you got it.